The Chemo Suite at Windsor Regional Hospital. If you're very fortunate, maybe this is the first time you're having the opportunity to see inside the Chemo Suite. For our guest this morning, Michelle Prince, this is her 56th visit to the Chemo Suite as a patient, and she's very generously agreed to let us come along for a ride this morning. If you ever do find yourself here, the hope is that maybe that will help take the edge off a little by pulling back the curtain and making it less scary. If you are here this morning in the Chemo Suite or receiving treatment somewhere else, maybe you'll learn some tips or tricks to make that experience easier. Or maybe if you have some that you can share, we welcome those as well. You ready for this?
Ready.
Let's do it. Welcome everyone to Cancer Center Live. I'm Allison Johnson, Manager of Communications at Windsor Regional Hospital. Live with my guest this morning, Michelle Prince, who needs very little introduction in the Windsor-Essex area. Michelle has been a famous chiropractor in the city. And also, as the wife of former Mayor Eddie Francis, her journey with cancer has been a very public one, and along the way she's done a lot to help. Right now she's about to post this live on her Facebook page, Michelle Prince Education and Inspiration, where she's done a lot to kind of pull back that curtain already, and also on AM 800 on a radio page. So how are you feeling this morning?
I'm feeling good for having 56. Adrenaline is kicking in.
Well, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
For those of you who haven't checked in with Cancer Center Live before, this is an interactive live broadcast. So I know that Michelle could take this entire next half hour to 90 minutes and talk nonstop, and you would all benefit from hearing what she has to say. But we also really want to hear what you have to say this morning. While we're here, Michelle's going to talk about what it feels like, how she prepares, what are some things you can do to support people in the Chemo Suite. We've got her bag here. She's going to go through that and say what she packs to bring here. She's also going to answer your questions, though, and share in the discussion that you bring to the table. So this is a three-way conversation, and along the way we'll be joined by some members of the care team here. So looking forward to this conversation. Now, on the weekend, we did post that this was going to happen, and we did get some questions that we'll include in this discussion. And we also got a lot of people sending positive vibes your way. So I just want to kick off the conversation by bringing some of our viewers into the discussion today. First, from Margaret Hart, she says, Michelle, you are truly an inspiration. From Anne-Marie Brode, your courage and example is admirable. Way to make a difference, from Heather Chauvin. This is simply a kind and loving thing to do, says Karen Dunn. And finally, your positive spirit and tenacity to embrace your cancer has been remarkable. You are a true beacon of hope for others facing their diagnosis. Thanks for sharing publicly your private journey. And that's from Joe McParland. And really, that's what Cancer Center Live is all about. So thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you. And you get a little more emotional on the chemo day, so that kind of threw me off that you were going to do that.
I'm sorry. Well, let's talk about why you're doing this. You approached us and said, I want to open this curtain and let everyone see what's happening, and it is a very private time.
Yeah, and I think that I remember my first experience coming here so clearly because I was so scared. I had had friends that had cancer treatment, but I didn't know that I could have come with them or been a support, so I didn't know a lot of what I didn't know at that point, and coming here was very terrifying. I didn't know what it was going to look like or sound like or feel like or what I was going to see and how I was going to feel. So I think that was a big part of why I wanted to team up with the Cancer Center Live show, because it can reach such a broad audience in social media. And social media has helped me. I reach out to others. I read their fan pages. People read mine. And we have this literally global discussion so that no one's out there alone. And today we're actually in a private room. Can we say that?
Yep, we're in a private room today. We're making a bit of noise.
Yeah, we're making a bit of noise. Normally what you see in the Cancer Center are a series of chairs, like recliners, for people that have maybe shorter stays, and then beds for people who would prefer to lay down or have a longer treatment time and might want to nap off some of that treatment. So I'm in a bed today. Sometimes I do sleep. And we are in a private room just to not disturb anybody else. But all the machinery is still the same.
So before we went to air here this morning, the care team was in here hooking Michelle up, getting the chemo running. We've got Erica in here now. Hi, Erica.
Hello.
So maybe while you're here, you can talk about what you did prior to the start of the webcast this morning.
So when Michelle came in this morning, we accessed her port path, and the port is actually like an IV line that we use for some patients, and we check for blood return to make sure that it's functioning properly. After that, we hooked her up to a regular set of lines just carrying normal saline, and we do that running at a slow amount in the beginning until the chemo's ready, just so that a line is going and we're using the port and keeping it open. And then we ordered her chemotherapy after checking the doses and doing her weight and assessing her to make sure that she's feeling okay today, which she is. And then 2 nurses came in and double-checked the chemo. We gave her pre-medications, including oral tablets to prevent reaction and nausea and things like that. And then we hung up the chemotherapy and another nurse came in to check the pump. So that kind of is all the technical stuff that we did.
Mm-hmm. How are you feeling? Does it hit you right away?
A little bit. You'll notice that I wipe my nose a lot. I get a very runny nose from a lot of people that have had chemotherapy. Will talk about the runny noses. So we tend to bring our own Kleenex.
We've got 2 boxes here.
This isn't so good for the nose. This is much better for the nose. So we bring our own Kleenex, and that's one of the common side effects is the runny nose.
And that's specific to this drug that you're getting. And different drugs have different really common symptoms, but yeah, the runny nose and sometimes a bit of nausea with this one and cramping can be really tough for people.
So now that she's hooked up and everything is running, what's the plan after that? Michelle will be here for a little while.
So 90 minutes is what your drug will run for. And then after that, throughout that time, we keep coming in to check, make sure everything's okay. If you need anything, you let us know. And then after that time, we're going to hook up a pump that she'll go home with. And that pump will infuse the same type of chemotherapy slowly over 46 hours. And then she'll have it disconnected.
Does it hurt?
Chemo to
I
go.
think that people want to know. Does it hurt?
You know, it doesn't hurt. The only thing that I'm feeling right now is one of the drugs that I take is Benadryl. It helps to alleviate any reactions or allergic reactions that I might have and did have at one point, so I take it each time I have it to avoid that reaction. I am a little sleepy now and a little slightly jittery, so if I slur my words, it's the Benadryl.
I'd brought in a buzzer to keep you awake. I'm going to prod you here. But that's a good chance to point out that if you want to get your questions in this morning, maybe get them in now so that before Michelle falls asleep.
Very good. And I'll check on you in a little while,
Thanks,
okay?
Erica.
Thanks,
Bye.
Erica. Thumbs up for Erica and all of the staff here in the Cancer Center. Thumbs up hearts if you're out there. We like to see those throughout the show. Michelle's got her phone here. So if you're watching, feel free to show some love. So, Michelle, and you were diagnosed in 2014. Maybe we'll just get you to share a little bit about your journey there. You can watch it when you get home. It's all good. Don't worry. You don't have to produce.
Control issues. Yeah, I was Benadryl. I was diagnosed in 2014 and right away started chemotherapy. I did sort of the common 12 rounds of chemo. And then I thought I was done, so bang the gong. The gong is something that's known at the chemo center to achieve not only being finished chemo, but for people like me, a milestone. So I could have went at number 50 and hit it to say, you know what, I still have something to be proud of because we're still walking the walk here and winning the fight so far. So 2014, and then shortly after that, I had a reoccurrence in 2015 and then again in 2016, which is not uncommon for the type of colon cancer that I have. So the difference between me and many other patients is, you know, I have to live with it as long as I can and rely on the drugs and research, of course, to bring us further into the fight, pharmaceutically speaking. Other people can have a short course and really go right into remission or be cured from cancer, which is fantastic.
And you're here every 2 weeks.
And I'm here every 2 weeks.
All right.
These bags are part of my life.
And we're going to talk about life here in the Cancer Suite now. Over the weekend, we had a couple people share some tips on our Facebook page. Jenna, thanks for sharing. She says, while you're here, if you feel hungry and you want to eat in the chemo suite, do it! ! She says, I always craved fries in the cafeteria and made my husband go buy them for me because the next 2 days I would be so sick I wouldn't want to eat.
That's true. I would agree with that a lot. Tomorrow I won't eat. Tomorrow's not a good day. I will post something live on my page tomorrow so that people can see, because it is you want to see what happens. And tomorrow's not a great day, so I'll post a little bit tomorrow and the next day when my pump comes off my chemo bag. But what she said is right. I have heard of the greasy food craving. I don't have it. I don't crave much. I do crave carbs. Maybe I'm just a female over 40 and I do that anyway. But I have a granola bar to eat with me today, and I will eat during the treatment because somehow just having something in your stomach soothes it. I will start to get nauseous soon.
I brought a couple platters of scones because I did read that it's nice
Scones
to bring
are my
carbs
go-to.
or greasy things to the chemo suite. So how would you describe this place for everyone out there who hasn't been here or it's been a while?
I think one thing that will surprise people is how serene the center is. When you walk in, we have a different entrance from the hospital, although the cancer center is attached to the hospital. And as soon as you walk in, it's warm and inviting. There's a sitting area with couches, and the volunteers are right there to greet you as soon as you walk in the door. There's a fireplace and a piano that's playing. It's a different place. It's not like walking into a hospital. Even when you enter the chemo suite, you'll see the nurses gowned up like Erica was in the blue gown, and that's just for their protection. Everything else is very serene and calm, not awkwardly quiet. Unfortunately, I have a friend here today even, and we'll chit-chat, people chit-chatting with their loved ones. It's a lot different than people would think. You're not walking into a space full of really ill people, although we all have cancer in here, no doubt. No one's getting sick, no one's wailing, no one's doing anything odd other than just trying to chillax and have their treatment.
And there's a real sense, I noticed, I came up here for the first time about a month ago, and I was a bit scared coming in. I think I told you that. But right away you notice that everyone's there's a sense that everyone's on the same team.
Yes.
Everyone in here has a battle going on, and everyone's supporting each other through
and
that.
I think that I always nickname it Team Cancer, the only membership you never wanted to get in on. But it is. I mean, we can learn from each other. So when we sit in the beds or the chairs, and someone might be conversing about maybe a side effect they have, and someone said, "Oh, I had that too, but this is what I did," and we can have a dialogue. And we really do share an awkwardly common bond that runs deep. You don't forget the faces you see in here, and if you make a good connection, they're usually a lifelong connection.
Now I want to talk about, you said the first time that you came here, you were terrified. And today we want to kind of make the place a little less scary for everyone watching with us. What did you feel on your first trip, and what have you learned since then?
I think the thing that I learned the most was, again, that it's not a place of extreme illness. I really did think that I was literally going to be hearing people getting sick to their stomach. When you read about getting chemotherapy and you read the side effects, nausea and vomiting, hair loss, those are the two things that people stereotypically think about with chemotherapy. And they're the two biggest worries that a patient has. So I thought I was going to walk in and see bald heads and a lot of vomiting. I've been bald, so we can talk about that later. There are some bald heads. But, we've come such a long way, and the doctors and nurses know how to manage the side effects of chemotherapy so well that it's not what it used to be.
How do you keep your hair then? 56 times in here and looking fabulous.
I don't really know, actually, and I have some pretty strong nails, too. But the most common side effects is hair loss and brittle nails. So some people can really suffer losing their nails right at the nail bed, and that can be quite uncomfortable. But again, they have tools here, certain drugs. You can wear gloves that will help protect your nails from falling off on the nail bed. But I did lose my hair. I lost it unexpectedly. I'd gone a whole year and a half of treatment before I lost a hair on my head, and then I woke up and it started just coming out in clumps, and I was completely taken off guard. Thankfully, I was traveling with a girlfriend who had gone through cancer before, and she put me in the car and brought me to the nearest wig shop. And we were away in Nevada, and it was 115 degrees, and I'm trying to try on wigs, sweating profusely. But, having those friends that have gone down the road before you, it was imperative for keeping me sane those few days. I was always a person that thought hair loss and cancer oh, if that ever happened to me, I don't even know if I'd wear a wig, just embrace it. What is it's only hair? Until I looked at myself in the mirror and clumps were coming out. And it was probably the most emotional day. I still get choked up thinking, why did I have so much value in that? But apparently I did. And when you're stripped down naked, you're stripped down naked. And that's as tough as it gets sometimes. I'd take a day of nausea and vomiting over losing my hair again, I'll tell you that much. And I don't know why. I cannot answer the question. That was my kryptonite in this whole thing. I don't know why. I don't know why it bothered me so much and still does. But I have some hair now and I'm happy about it.
Makes
if
sense.
it falls out, I'll do it easier the next time. But that was a tough road for me.
When you do walk around here, and one of the things that surprised me was how different everyone is. It's not a whole room full of older people with white hair. It's all aspects.
I think that's one of
the
one of the most surprising things that people will see is how young people are. Even my husband and I, he's never missed one of my 56 chemos. He's been at every one of them. He's sitting in the back. He'll say, "Did you see it today? Did you see how many new faces and how many of them are young?" And I don't know what we're doing wrong out there, but we got to have some personal responsibility and do what we can, because the rest is not under our control right now, it seems.
Now, I do want to say, though, some of them have fabulous hair out
there. Yeah, there's some freedom in wigs. It's awesome.
So what advice do you have for people? And before I ask you that, I'll let you think about it for a second, but we're going to bring in a second Maggie Jenna, who's the lead nurse up here, and she's going to talk about her experience up here and what she's learned over the course of 3 decades working in the cancer center or in chemotherapy. But what advice do you have for people who are coming for their first time?
I think if it's possible, if it's within their comfort zone, bring someone that's been through it before. If they've been here, even a bigger bonus. Because there's small nuances. There's always volunteers to get whatever you need here. The nurses are always around. Here's Meg. I didn't even see you pull up.
Hi,
they're always around.
She's always there.
They're always around. But the volunteers are so great, but you might not know where to get the water. And having a friend or a caregiver here and someone that might have been here already, if you can pick somebody that's been here already, bring them to your first treatment, it will ease your fears a lot.
And that's also something that we're going to talk to a little bit later in the webcast. We have Beth Ann Prince, Michelle's sister, who's made several visits with her here as well. And we'll talk about how to be a good support in the chemo suite, what Michelle and other people need, what you like, and what you might want to avoid when you come here. Hi, Maggie.
Hi, Allison. Hi.
Before we bring Maggie into the conversation, I want to share a comment from Dean Lefebvre. Dean actually, I believe, is receiving treatment today. And he says, the nurses here are amazing, knowledgeable, and always professional. And seeing familiar faces on a daily basis helps to feel confidence and trust in the nurses and doctors who administer the chemo treatments. They're truly rooting for all patients' success. And that's definitely a sense that I get when I'm in here.
I paid him. I paid him to do that. No.
I don't think so.
No, I didn't.
Everybody, I mean, it is, like you said, a different environment in here. And I'm sure it takes a special kind of person to work in here. But I'll get you to just answer the general question first. How would you describe the chemo suite where we are today?
Well, it's a busy place. Unfortunately, it is a busy place. We see anywhere from 60 to 90 patients a day. At any one time, we can have over 40 patients in here. Treatments range from 10 minutes to 10 hours. So it's
10 hours?
Yeah, some people get their treatments, it's once a week. Sometimes it's 5 days a week. Sometimes it's every 2 weeks, like Michelle. And sometimes it's once a month or once every 3 weeks. So we have all different types of treatment in here. For different types of diseases and for different people specifically, because it's often tailor-made to them as well.
So what do you want people to know about this place?
I want people to know that we have very skilled, trained nurses in here, that we are oncology certified, that we're chemo and biotherapy certified, and that we really do provide like caring and compassionate care to the people. And that we are a team. Michelle has used that word so many times today, team. And we do feel that we are a team. It's not the patient, the nurse, the individual. We're all in this together. And it's our journey as well.
And if I may, you know, we see as patients our doctors on differing intervals, but there's a finite amount of time that you have with your doctor. There is a finite amount of time when you're seeing 40 people in here a day. However, I always have never felt rushed in asking whatever questions, and I still have them 3 years into this. There'll be something new that will come up, something new that my body will feel. Maybe last round of chemo, I was extremely nauseous for days, and I just couldn't get a handle on it. These are the people that I ask. They're the front line, and they know exactly what to do. Double up on this, do that, you know. And I don't have to run to my doctor every time. Although I think I have the world's best doctor, this is just so much easier to communicate with the nurses.
And I remember one time I was up here actually taking some photos and video of Maggie, and she was treating a patient who had a question, and Maggie answered her in a really loud voice. And I remember you telling me, she has that question. I guarantee so do 2 or 3 other people, and they can, you know, you cannot hear it enough. Maybe I answered that question before for somebody and they weren't in the right frame of mind to receive that information, and so repeatedly hearing it. That was pretty good advice.
Yeah, it was good. Thank you.
I want to ask you, what motivates and inspires you in here? Because,
well, first of all, it's the people. People like Michelle. How could you not be motivated by someone like this? And then secondly, it's just, you know, it's like, how do I describe it? It's like finding the perfect partner. You know, you start with something in life and you grow together and you just find that this is the right place for you to be. That's what motivates me, is just the job itself.
And I just want to mention, Maggie won an award not too long ago. She got to go to Toronto and was recognized for a Human Touch Award. I think that it's the amazing qualities that everybody in here possesses.
No, don't make me cry today.
We got tons of Kleenex here.
Yeah. Where's the good Kleenex?
The good Kleenex is over there.
Okay, the good Kleenex.
What question do you get asked the most that could benefit people who...
Well, everybody comes in here in a different frame of mind, you know. Some people will ask us about the treatment. How long am I going to be here? They're going to ask you questions like, can I go to the washroom with my machine hooked up? Some people ask us treatment about side effects of the treatment. Am I going to throw up right away? Am I going to have these kind of things? And that's where the skilled trained nurses come in. We all know the correct answers. We've all been educated. We all know what different drugs cause different side effects, and we understand that. Some people come in and ask questions about, am I going to be okay? Will this treatment work? They ask about their overall thing. And they all come in and ask questions at different times within their journey. And they also ask, they may ask the same question 5 times to the same person. Because they're all looking for answers. They're looking for information that we can give them.
What's the balance in terms of the care you give? How much of it is clinical and how much of it is emotional support?
50-50. We have to know what we're doing here. We have to know that you know, how to set these machines, how to run these, how to be safe, how to do all our checks and balances. We run I feel a very tight unit. We have a lot of evidence-based practice, and we have to follow that very closely. These are not drugs that, you know, you fool around with. You have to know exactly what you're doing. But the rest becomes, you know, this could be my sister. This could be my friend, you know, a close friend. This could be my mother. And it is somebody's mother, and it is someone's sister. And I think that if you treat people the way you want to be treated, with a little bit of humor sometimes, with you know.
Maggie's very funny.
with
when needed.
Yeah, with humor. If you need a soft touch, if you need to have that question answered, no matter how easy the question is, how complex, even if we don't know the answer, I will get that answer, because they need that knowledge at that time in their life to move on.
Anything else that you want to add to the discussion?
No, I just think that this was wonderful that we're doing this, and that we're, you know, people do, just like you said, Michelle, I think that people think that, oh, how do you work at the cancer center, and that it's a quiet, dungy place, but it's not. Everyone's here is here for the same reason, obviously, but we're all here to fight the fight, and we're all in this together. That's how I feel.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
How's she doing here? Anything?
She
I'm
is
sleeping.
doing.
Are you sleeping? Okay.
And, you know, and as a nurse, that's a good thing, because I know the Benadryl's working, and that tells me that that the medication I gave her is working. So just bear with her. But no, she's fine. She's fine. And everything looks like it's going well today. Yeah.
Excellent. And anytime you want to kick us out, absolutely, please feel free to do that. I appreciate you being here today, but this is your show, and you're calling the shots here. All right. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you.
Wheels away.
So we have a question here from Lana. She says, what are you using to detox your body after chemo? And what does your diet look like?
Sure. Well, just from my background, being a chiropractor and being such a natural health advocate, first of all, this is quite a departure for me. I never thought I'd be doing this in all my life. But I think that of all of the even evidence-based ways of eating, there are lots of things that are maybe shown or early research to show that helps with cancer, the ketogenic way of eating, the raw-based diet, a paleo diet, they all have value. But there is so much that we don't know about a certain way of eating and how it might react to cancer or help or hurt. And we don't have ways in our own personal lives to measure those variables. I keep it simple. I keep it as healthy as I can all the time. I will go to a restaurant if I'm on my off chemo week and it's later in the week. I have it all timed out. I will have wine. A lot of people say, "Oh my God, you have cancer." I've been at this 3 years. I've tried every single way of eating. I've juiced till there's no vegetables or fruits left in the grocery store. And I get a lot of messages. "Oh, you must try this. You must try this." Being a chiropractor, doctor in front of my name, I know a lot of what was happening and what can happen with my body. But for my type of cancer, colon cancer in particular, having a broad range, just really healthy diet, avoiding a lot of dairies, red meats, etc., is useful for me. Other cancers might have something that is shown to help. Again, there's more that we don't know than we do know, so keeping a broad range healthy diet is the best. And then a lot of people ask about detoxing, and detoxing is very interesting. From my perspective as a chiropractor, I'm not speaking as an oncologist by any means, it's really important to not detox so much. You don't want to throw your liver out of balance. Liver is if our liver is healthy, will allow us to get another, for me, life-saving treatment. So if you overload on the detox, you can actually do more harm than good. So you can detox just by having a lot of greens in your diet. If you know a little bit more about heavy metals than chlorophyll and those kind of green things, but do a little homework and get a good naturopath and talk to your oncologist too, because they're not as immune to these questions as people think, and they're not opposed to doing things naturally and healthy for your body. They want the best for their patients too. So I'm completely open and honest with my oncologist, and she knows everything that I do. And she'll tell me if she disapproves of something, and I'll respect that 100%. She's been at this longer than I've been at my career, so.
As a chiropractor, you had a lot of knowledge coming into this, but what has the learning curve been like?
Oh my gosh, there's so much, there's so much genetics involved in cancer. And I don't mean family history, I mean just your own DNA and how it's mutated over time. You could read forever. That stimulates me, but for other people, that's too overwhelming. So if that's you, don't do it. Don't read. Rely on your doctors. They know what they're doing. I just happen to read every study that's published for fun because that's what I like to do to amuse myself.
Well, I have another question here from Bev Camphorse. Bev, thanks for joining the conversation. And she wants to know, what are your feelings on medical marijuana for both the pain control and the treatment?
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the most common questions I've been asked. And I think it is extremely useful. There's a reason that it's being legalized as a medicine. I'm a licensed card carrying so that I do use it for nausea, and there are certain strains that are very beneficial for colon cancer. So I'll take an oil, put it in a capsule. There's lots of different ways, and there are physicians across Canada that know a lot about it, and you can connect with them and use it properly. It's made for us to be using, and so I'm a big fan, actually.
And that kind of gets us into the discussion of side effects. How are you feeling right now?
Still sleepy, still a lot of more nose running, which will happen, and then a little bit of nausea.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, do you need
I'll
anything?
let you know. No.
Do you want some carbs?
Soon I will open my granola bar.
A comment from Ted Whip. Ted, thanks for joining the conversation. He says, you are incredibly open. He says, I did only 8 chemo treatments for colon cancer, and that ended in mid-December. The side effects take so long to subside.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we don't realize, because we think of the now when we're having chemo, and when will my round of chemo be done? When is my last treatment? For me, I don't have a last treatment, but you still forget that there's side effects that linger. So, for example, with colon cancer, and Ted and I would have been on the same drug. We all start off on the same drug. There's something called neuropathies, and that's very common to a lot of cancer drugs, hands and feet numbness and tingling. I battled that. I actually had to give up my practice because of the neuropathies in my hands and feet. I just couldn't feel what I was doing. When I had hair, I couldn't hold a curling iron. I dropped it and actually burned myself. I would trip and fall because I couldn't feel my feet. And that took probably over a year to finally get that out of the body. So backtracking to the person that asked about detoxing, it's not that simple. You just can't put yourself in a sauna once or take a greens drink and think that that's all coming out of you. These are some very strong chemicals, and they take a long time. So a lot of people don't realize that they're still having these lingering side effects, and that's something to talk to your physician about, or a survivorship group that deals with the same sorts of issues for whatever type of drug you are on, because they are lasting and they can affect your quality of life, which is the most important for all of us. We want to be as normal as possible because it's such an abnormal disease and all the things that we have to go through, that having that normalcy and learning how to manage those lingering side effects is really important.
What's the hardest side effect that you've had to learn to live with?
You know, oddly enough, it is the taste that is left in my mouth from the chemo. It'll come on within about 2 hours after I'm finished. And by tomorrow, I literally won't eat tomorrow because I won't want to eat. Just even the thought of putting, besides a gum or mint or some lemon water, that will take the taste out of my mouth. But I will try and stay asleep tomorrow. I'll take extra Gravol on top of the medicine that they give me so that it will knock me out, so that I don't have to physically be aware of the taste in my mouth. It's indescribable and foul.
So I won't ask, what does it taste
Yeah,
like? Okay.
I can't imagine putting a word to it, but it's not fun, and it is really common for people. Now, some people just get sort of a metallic taste. That's very common. When Erica was saying that when she hooked me up to the port, she flushed a little tube of saline through, and that just makes sure that the medicine is going to flow into my body through the portacath in my chest. And you can taste a metallic taste. Some people will say that that's what they'll get from their whole drug treatment. But for me, tomorrow, and then I won't get my taste buds back until Friday or Saturday. So I'm really eating just a lot of bland foods, a lot of smoothies, and then I'll be back on my feet by Saturday when my taste buds clear up.
So it is like a cycle, and this interests me. You come here today, you're okay. When you start, the taste thing will be an issue for the next little while. You'll be tired, and then kind of toward next weekend, you start to pick back up.
Yeah, so I'll be back on my feet by Saturday. Now, I used to be able to go out and jog when I was in my first 12 treatments. I'd go for long walks with my chemo bag on. I'd be bounced back by Wednesday and doing everything as normal. But 3 years in, this has quite a buildup in my body, and it takes time for that it takes time for my body to say, whoa, I can't bounce back on a Wednesday, sister. It's going to take you till Saturday before you're back on my feet. And that's been a big negative, if I can say it that way, for me, because that means that those are 3 more days that I can't really help my kids. I can't drive them to baseball. I can't drive them to dance. I can't do a normal wife and mother sort of role for a whole week. And that's one of the more psychological things that I've had to overcome, is those inadequacies that you suddenly have, that my mind is fully aware that I should be doing these things, but my body just won't keep up with what my mind wants to do.
So how do you then mentally prepare for that every other Monday?
Right.
Because I'm guessing that's the best weekend that you have, or
That's
those are the
exactly
best
right.
few
Yeah.
days.
We have a
knowing.
lot of friends over, a lot of dinner with friends, a lot of play dates, a lot of all those sorts of things. We do all those things, but what we do, starting sort of yesterday, I'll start with a pre-ritual. And it's different Sunday to Sunday if I can. Sometimes I just want to be around my kids and just envelop and do anything that we can, and that will distract me from knowing that I have chemo the next day. Some days my head, it's just like, it's tomorrow again. It's going to be a whole week in bed, and I actually kind of want to be alone. So that my husband's really great at reading my cues. I'll just draw myself a bath. He'll know, okay, let's take the kids and the dog for a walk, and I just need some alone time to get my head in the game. It's not any one thing I think about or do. It's just whether I'm ready for it or not. But Monday always comes, so I gotta be ready because I gotta show up.
We have a question from David. David says, I have a friend starting chemo soon, and they're nervous. What can I tell her to ease her mind?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I'd be nervous too, because that's just human. And when you stop being nervous about it, that's probably a problem. But I think one of the things is that you're not sick right away. A lot of people worry about going home and getting sick or not being able to anticipate those things. So that's when I really recommend writing down everything your doctor told you and everything the nurses are going to tell you, because that's that frontline thing. As soon as you show up here, they're going to say, okay, expect this, expect this, expect this. Maybe not so much that, but we want to know if you experience that, and write it all down, because chemo brain is for real. You do forget things, and if you don't write it down, I encourage everybody to have a journal. Above all the things they bring to chemo, bring a journal and write down anything important that they've told you.
What is chemo brain, for those who may not know? Chemo
brain is the never-ending fog that sets in really after your first few treatments. There are clinical studies showing that chemo brain is real. It's a general fog and forgetfulness, and sometimes you'll just feel really silly and think, did I say that, or was I dreaming that conversation? We've all done that, but you do it a lot with chemo brain, like a lot. Like I'll say something to my husband, and I know I get the look back. I'm like, yeah, I said that already, didn't I? This is not good. It's not going to go anywhere well. We've already had this argument. But it's real, and it's real.
So in terms of preparing for the Monday, how can people help? You talked about your husband knows how to read your cues, but what about people, family, friends, neighbors? What do you need?
I think that moral support is really the number one thing, just being there. My girlfriends are really good even offering to take the kids, so they'll know this week, they'll make sure, is your babysitter around? If your babysitter has a problem, let me have the kids on a Wednesday, or let me take the kids Thursday. I know you'll still be in bed. Those are invaluable moments. Someone said, how do you be a good friend to someone with cancer? And we were talking about earlier off camera that we tend to go back to those things of saying, no, I'll be okay. No, don't drop off food. No, I don't really need it. You do need it. I remember the first person to drop me off food. At first I was like, what am I, that's really nice, but what's the big deal? And then I realized, whoa, I couldn't make dinner the next day, and there was already dinner in my fridge, and what a nice thought. And I've never done that for somebody with cancer before, and I've known people that have had it and had treatment. So holy mackerel, that's so much better. So as a patient, don't say no when people are offering something, unless it's involving your personal space that you're not comfortable with. Just say yes. Just, yes, you can take my kids. Yes, you can bring me food. Say yes. It's very freeing to know that you've got people that are willing to help you. And when you accept that help, even more freeing.
And you were saying that you can tell which of your friends have gone through an experience like this or have had loved ones, because it's something that you learn. It's not natural. It's a little bit uncomfortable. We were talking about the book by Sheryl Sandberg from Facebook, just talking about how to deal with situations in life where you don't go to school for that. You don't.
That's right. And it's probably the same for men and women. We go back to those roles where we're supposed to be cooking and we're supposed to be. These are just kind of innate things that we go back to. So you think, well, I'm going to do it anyway because that's my job. Or maybe a man would say, no, I'm not going to do that because go back to those innate things. I'm a man. I need the help. We do. We need the help now. We need the help now more than ever. We've been diagnosed with the scariest word of them all. And like you said, I didn't know. I had friends that had come to the cancer center. I didn't offer to come to chemo with them. So if you're someone that has a friend going through it, offer. And let them give the response and read the cues. Maybe they really don't want anybody here. Maybe they're not comfortable with someone being around unless it's their mom or sister and you're just a very close friend. And don't take offense to that, because it's we don't know. I didn't know how I was going to be. But then I relied on more and more of saying, yes, yeah, you can come. Yeah, you can drop me off. Yeah, you can pick me up. That way my husband doesn't have to hang out here the whole time. He can get to his job. You'll be helping me out. So I think just putting it out there for your friend or loved one, saying, can I do this? I'd like to do this. I'd like to, not because I want to look and see how scary and awful it is, but because I love you and I want to be the best support that I can be for you. And it's okay if you say no, but I really do want to ask and I really do want to help.
So in terms of preparation, we did put a question out online on the weekend. How do you prepare? And we got a response from Andrea. One word. She said hydrate. Make sure that you're hydrated.
Amen to that. A few reasons for that. One, it flushes the chemo out, and we want it to do its job, but we don't want it to leave our bodies. And staying hydrated from more of a medical level just keeps everything working so much better when our bodies are hydrated. The second, and sort of not talked about, not so much talked about unless we talk to each other as fellow cancer patients, is that all of these drugs are extremely constipating, and that is not a good state. That means your body's withholding toxins as well, and those sorts of things, and it's just not comfortable. So staying hydrated helps to keep your body in balance, and that's really important.
Cheers to that. Now, after you have a chance, how are you feeling now?
The same.
Still tired, but...
Still sleepy. Yeah, a lot of nose running. Sorry if that's bothering anyone, but my nose is really running. And but no nausea right now. That's passed. I think I got over the hurdle there.
Is that something that comes and goes then?
It does, yeah. And you don't know when it's going to hit. That's the uncomfortable part. So always staying ahead with the medicine. I do not miss my anti-nauseants. I will take them exactly when they tell me. I will take the exact dose, and then I will top it up with Gravol if I have to.
And then just in case, I did see that there was a bucket in the corner here. That's probably standard, maybe?
I think it is standard. Thankfully, I've never used one. It's 56 rounds. I've never used the bucket, so...
And you have a bag here of stuff that you bring for your visit. Yeah. Maybe we can go through that.
Thank you.
And this is stuff that you bring with you to your treatments for...
This is my chemo bag, yeah. So there's a few essentials. For me, I discreetly keep my pain medications in here. This bag goes with me wherever I go. I do have some pain that's involved in my cancer, so I have to take medicine right away if the pain hits, because it's not fun or comfortable. And then there's some basic things. I like to bring my own tissue because for my runny nose, and then carry these if you're entering chemo. Carry these wherever you go because your nose will run even while you're not on chemo. So that's my girlfriend Maria, and I share Kleenex all the time. For me, you'll see this little gizmo in my bag. This is chemotherapy that was on me last week. It is my to-go kit. So in this little pump gets attached to my hip. The tubing gets inserted into the port in my chest, and this is the little bag that I carry around for 46 hours after my treatment is done here. So I will go home with it. Erica will attach the new one. So I always have to return mine. Anybody with colon cancer will have that. So I'll give that back to Erica when we're done.
When you said you used to run with your chemo on, is that what you would have with
my little chemo bag? And they're strapped in these, these are not the prettiest things, but that's what it goes in. So it looks like a beer can holder. Maybe if someone wanted to swap it out on their off weeks to hold their beer in it, they could. But that's what I hold my chemo in.
Sounds like a much more fun run.
That's exactly right. I always carry around the ginger Gravol, and I always carry around the normal Gravol to top up if I ever need it. And then my ever so faithful gum or mints. Not only am I starting to get a little bit sticky in the mouth now when I'm speaking, but these will take the taste that will start to come on. I've been at it for, I don't even know, I have about 38 minutes left, and it'll start to come pretty soon. I think one of the most important things you can gift, buy your friends iTunes cards and let them watch their iPad when they're here. I think one of the most interesting things that I found with doing chemo is that I can't read or focus. I know how to read. I can't read or focus very clearly. So I used to bring books like Vanity Fair with really nice long articles, but now I'm not smart enough for that, so I bring magazines with a lot of pictures. And then I'll donate these back to the Cancer Center after, because a doctor's waiting room can never have enough new magazines. And then last but most importantly is this journal has been with me from day one when someone dropped me off a kit. You can see all of the things that I have in here, from blood tests to CAT scan reports, I've got them all in here, but I will make notes about every session that I've had and what I've felt. And sometimes the notes don't change, but it's important to have that because Erica went through a series of questions before she hooked me up. But did I have regular bowel movements in the last interview? How were my nausea levels? And I've been at this 56 times. Sometimes I don't remember because all the weeks blend into another. So I might see a trend and say, you know what, I took my nausea drugs for like 5 days. Is that a little bit long? And then that's when Erica can say, well, let's talk about this because that's 2 days too long or whatever the case might be. So you need to write things down. I just keep some basic notes, but I think it's really important and hopefully helpful for you guys that you do this. So above all, water and a journal. If you bring nothing else, bring water and a journal.
Erica, do many people do this?
We encourage people to bring the books and make even a little list of things that pop up that aren't so much that you want to call in. Like if something bad happens, call in, of course. But if there's just questions you're wondering about, fingernails, hair, different things that are going on, nausea, medications, you can write out your list and then bring the list to the nurse on the day and we'll go through it all with you. You talked about chemo brain?
I did tackle the
Okay.
chemo bag. I think I did.
I'm like, that's the big reason for the book too, because you know what? We almost kind of tell you to plan to forget. So
That's great. So I give this to Erica. And
thank
she
you.
gives me a new one.
And I will give you this one. So this is your pump disconnect kit. You'll leave this for the home care nurse. Everyone doesn't get one of those, just patients that take chemotherapy in bottles home. And this works for the nurse to disconnect it, and it works as a spill kit in case you have an issue at home, which most of the time you never do.
Nope.
Yeah. Everything's feeling okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be back in a little while.
We're at about the 1 hour point now
Yeah.
that you've been receiving and you're
Yep.
tired.
I'm tired, and I might need to take a nature's break if you want to bring in a guest.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I think that we have a guest ready. Let's disconnect you. We promised Michelle that if we were going to hook her up, we wouldn't keep her tied down if necessary. So
I can reach that, I think. It's live, everybody. This is live fun.
I did want to mention when you were when you had your iPad there, the Wi-Fi connection isn't the best in the cancer center. Not always, not reliable. So I like your idea about the iTunes card.
Yes, absolutely. Really good to load up all those TV shows and nothing too complex. You need to focus. All right. So when I get up, this is very common. People might not know that you can actually walk around. So Erica unplugged me, and I can take this and take my show on the road right now and take a natural break.
You're coming back though, right?
I'm coming back.
All right. Thanks, Michelle. And while Michelle exits there, we're going to introduce another guest into the discussion today. We have Michelle's sister, Beth Ann Prince, who's going to join us if she wheel in a chair here. And we've talked a little bit today about what it's like to come and provide support. But again, it's not something that's natural, and something that I think we have a lot to learn from people like you who have been here very often. So thanks for joining us today. Maybe I'll get you to introduce yourself to our guests who are joining us today.
I'm Beth Ann, and I'm Michelle's sister. And of course, been along this journey with her, and of course her family, the rest of the family, and her great support system of friends as well. So, I think you've already touched on how important friends and support system is, and that is really critical. I know she said, if you feel like dropping food off, absolutely drop food off. When she was first diagnosed, we made a schedule up for chemo days. So all of her friends kept saying, what can I do, what can I do? So we just made a schedule up, and each person took a Tuesday. Back then it was Tuesdays. So every week, every 2 weeks, somebody took responsibility to picking up, staying with her, dropping off. Of course, Eddie has been by her side 24/7, and every doctor's appointment, every test, every chemo treatment, he hasn't left her side. So he is the number one support, absolutely.
In terms of taking that on yourself and making the schedule, that would take a load off of Michelle too, right? So she doesn't have to think, who can I ask to come with me? That's just one more thing that...
In her friends who wanted to do something, it made them have a purpose and made them feel like they were doing something. So whether it was, being here just to sit and, if she was sleeping or she was watching something, it's just having another person here just for comfort. If she needed a warm blanket, some days in the winter it's chilly in here, so they've got great warm blankets here. So we find out quickly where those are kept. And so, and then also food. We had a schedule of people dropping food off every week, and just being there and just knowing to accept the offer.
And having that group of friends support too. Like you said, Eddie's been here all the time, but it's a load off of the primary support provider as well.
Yeah.
Michelle's
She's coming back.
It is a little tight in here. We're making this look easy today, but I don't think there's ever been, I don't know, have you ever had this many guests at once in here?
No, I think it's actually frowned upon.
There we go. Good point. This is let's get you hooked back up here. But while we're doing that, I will ask you, how important is it for you to have Beth Ann here?
I think that it's just one less thing that I have to worry about when I have my friends or husband here, my sister. Again, they're really good after this amount of time at reading my cues to know if I'm hungry, if I'm thirsty, if I've been drinking my water or if I haven't, which today I'm not very good at it. Thank you. Because this does help make you feel better. When you're dehydrated, you do tend to be more nauseous. So drinking water is really useful. But again, on a day when I'm not feeling well, my sister notices right away because I'll just close my eyes. And that's my cue to people that I'm checking out for a little bit. I have to rest. And then there's other weeks where it's fine and we're looking for something to do. And I'm saying, go get me green tea at Tim Hortons. Something like that. So just that they're there, I don't have to worry about, do I have to do this? If I forget my Kleenex, they can get up and go get it for me. It's my time to just sit and let the medicine work.
So what have you learned along the way that things that Michelle wants or doesn't want? Is there anything that's off limits in here?
Anything with strong smells, for sure.
Yeah. Avoid
always,
that.
Well, always avoid, strong scents and things like that. You can really tell body language. She's a very energetic person. So when she starts to shut down, you know that she doesn't want to chit chat. She doesn't want to talk. Just leave her be. And when it's time to go, just make sure that it's time to go. And drinking water. The chemo brain does, kick in. She might forget, to drink all of her water that she needs to have, and that's a big reminder. Did you drink your water? And you become a pest. And at some point she says, Jesus, yes, I've drank my water, but it's just
it's never enough.
It's never enough. It's never enough.
And do you end up meeting people here as well? Michelle said you start to see the same people over and over. Do you end up kind of providing support for?
I think it's more of a familiar face. I think when you first get here, you have to respect their privacy. So it's not like you're going to walk through the waiting room and make eye contact with everyone. It's a very private matter, and if then they want to engage and they want to, have a smile and you offer a smile, then that's fine. But I think that it's very intimidating the first time, anyone comes here, and to offer a friendly smile is one thing, but to be overly friendly is, you've got to respect privacy when you're walking through that. When you enter the lobby, there's, it's a very busy place. Like Maggie said, unfortunately, it's a busy place, but you also have to respect people's privacy.
Do you have any 56 visits here? Any memorable experiences?
Well, I have a girlfriend that's also getting treatment right now, and we get a little giddy once the Benadryl kicks in. And so I went for a walk and then sat on the bed and then kind of found myself laying on the bed, and then we were giggling, and someone in the next bed said, do you guys always have this much fun here? I said, only when the Benadryl's flowing, that's when we have the most fun. So I wouldn't say it's a laugh a minute around here, but we try and keep the brevity. We do, the lightness, if you can.
Absolutely. Do you have any tricks for doing that?
You know what? You just have to have a good sense of humor and see the positive in everything. There's always light, and you just got to keep going for it.
So what tips, if you could give, I know you've already mentioned many, but tips for the supporter?
know when to be there and know when not to be there.
Yeah.
You have to respect their privacy. You have to respect their alone time. They need alone time too. You can't always be in their face. And as positive and as energetic as they come across, you'll know when to back off. And you just have to know that. And the more the more you're involved in the treatment plan, the more you get to know the person. So. And always just being support, and not only being support to the individual getting the treatment, but the family, the kids. If you're bringing food for the family, make sure you bring something for the kids that the kids are gonna like. Some games, some coloring books, something to keep the kids active, and always think about the partner as well.
And you said that the more you come to the treatment, the more you get to know the person. Have you learned new things about your sister?
No, I don't think
We're pretty close. So. We look alike.
When she starts to
it sounded like
chemo brain, she has to start saying things that you didn't know about.
She probably tells me the same story 3
I
times in
do,
a day.
and thankfully I text a lot, so I'll scroll back. Did I say that? I'm not sure if I said this already.
Probably a good one, at least.
She told me something twice this morning already.
Did I? Sorry.
That's a good point too, though. It must really help when you said you have chemo brain to have 1-2 more people here to remind you, what was said, or remind you to drink your water.
Yeah, it's
And
true.
that book that she keeps that journal that she
Yes.
keeps with every single test result, doctor conversation. It's amazing.
May 29th, Cancer Center Live.
I was here on time.
We were early today, I think. Well, thank you for joining us. Anything that we missed? Anything that you think we should discuss before?
No, I think it's great, and the comments and the questions that are coming in are just wonderful.
Absolutely. A comment from Isabel. How do you stay so positive? And P.S. You look great.
Oh, thanks. That's always good to hear. I'll take that. I think I had to choose how I was going to do this road very early on. My girlfriend Daniela here in Windsor, she sort of showed me, and lots of my other girlfriends, she showed me that you start giving back right away, because when you can do that, it makes your journey more bearable. And she's an ovarian cancer survivor, and she makes bracelets, and she does the walk, and she's got the teams, and I might not do that sort of thing. That's not quite my thing, but my thing is this. My thing is doing this and communicating. And we were chatting this morning, and she said, this is really great what you're doing. And I said, but you showed me. You came to my house when I was first diagnosed and said, you got to do this, because it's going to make you feel better. Trust me. Just trust me. Doing for others is going to make you feel better. And that was, one of the strong reasons. The strongest reason is always your family. You always stay positive for your family. My kids were just so young. They were 6 and 4 when I was diagnosed. So I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole, because if I went there, that's how they would have remembered me. And I didn't want that experience for them. I wanted them to, one day my son said to me, Mom, when you used to be able to run, could you, and he asked me a question. I don't even know what the question was, because I was so, the pre-framing of when he said, when you used to be able to run, that I thought, oh my gosh, my kid sees me sometimes as being sick, and I didn't want that. So I fake this disease as much as I can, so that my kids can really see that, that we can keep things as hopefully normal as possible. But I think I stay positive because it's a choice that I have, and everyone around me is better for that experience as well. So it just takes better care of me, and I'm sure that's why I've fought it as long as I have. Predictions were not that I would be here this long, but so choosing positive has helped me stay here this long.
And I can't imagine how many people whose lives you've touched, who you've helped along the way. Your phone is lighting up like crazy as we're talking. Just give us 20 more minutes, 5 more minutes. I don't know what you got. But
I got it all.
But
I
and
have lots of Kleenex to get me through.
the list of comments that we had prior to the discussion today. So thank you for that. And how are you feeling now? What point are we at?
I'm
More than an hour.
I've been dripping for a while. 20 minutes left on my drip, so I've been at it probably an hour now. I really do feel the same. I think the adrenaline is overcoming the Benadryl more than anything right now.
Okay.
which is helpful because normally I'd doze off about right now. But I
Okay.
promise I won't.
No, it's okay. We won't keep you too much longer. And then you did mention a little bit about, so what happens when you leave? You talked about what it's like, but...
Yeah. So I always, literally from when Erica will put on my chemo bag, I'll have a driver home. This is not something you want to drive yourself to or from. Every time you get chemo, it's slightly different. So don't think I was so good last time that I'm going to drive myself home. There's services that can provide rides as well, if you ask at your cancer centers about that. So I'll go home. My driver home, my next door neighbor, will make sure that I eat, and she'll walk me up to my bed to make sure I get upstairs, and that's a huge help. And then I'll sleep it off. I'll sleep probably till about 4:30 today when my kids come home from school, and then I'll stay up. And then, unfortunately, like most people with chemo, we're given a steroid this morning before we start. The steroids help to keep the nausea down, keep the vomiting down. But when that wears off, it's generally in the middle of the night, and it revs up your system as it's coming out of the body. So I'll walk around the house between 3 and 4 a.m. for a good hour. When that first happened, I told my doctor if she wants her windows washed, I have plenty of energy. Just tell me where she lives, and I'll come scrubbing so she can know what I'm feeling.
I'll give you an address.
Yeah, exactly. So I will do that, and that's not a fun part. And then I'll be again all tired because I was up most of the night just with the drug wearing off my system. So when the kids get up and go to school, actually I don't get them tomorrow morning. I'll stay in bed. My husband gets up, makes the lunches, as he does every day. I have the best husband ever. He'll make the lunches and get the kids off to school, and I'll stay in bed. And he even delivers my medicine and the water, make sure I wake up enough to take it, and I don't forget anything or get behind in my medicine. And then I will sleep all day tomorrow until the kids get home, and then I'll have an early, I'll be the first one in bed tomorrow night too.
And you mentioned that you want to keep things as normal as possible for your kids. But you're sleeping all day today and tomorrow. What do they understand?
You know, they understand a lot more now. My son is younger; he's 7, and he's a boy. So I don't want to say he doesn't care much, but he's a boy. So he's whatever. Mom's up today. Mom's down today. Is this a good day? So he will ask, "Is this a good day, Mom? Can we do this?" And I'll say it's a great day. Yeah, let's absolutely do it. And there's other days where I'm, running the house from the couch and saying, you know what, can we do that while we sit on the couch? And he doesn't seem fazed by it. My daughter's almost 10 in a few weeks, and she's more emotional. She's an emotionally driven daughter, as most are. And she will, yeah, I know it. I'm ready. No, chemo might be easier than raising a teenage daughter. But she'll ask questions, like when the Windsor Star article came out. She can read now, and that's important that I choose my words carefully. If she gets worried, I always tell her, I'll tell you when to worry, and it's not now. It's not, the time to worry is not now. And I always want to be open and honest with them. And because it's such a way of life for our family, that every other week they just know, don't bug Mom. Only if it's an emergency do you have to wake her up. And it's usually from down the stairs, Mom, 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 Mom. So that doesn't really change just because cancer's here. It's all universal.
So I know children are not allowed in the chemo suite. Will they watch this?
They will watch this, yep. And I'll watch it with them, the taped version, so that I can answer any questions that they might have. I wish that they could come and see. It's not... it's policy for most hospitals, so I'm not going to argue a policy. But we have, some good things that happen here that I eventually would like the kids to see, that it's not so bad, not so scary. But if we can do that just through this chat for now, that's good enough for me.
All right. A question here from Pam. Pam says, when diagnosed, I wanted to know what my worst day on chemo would be like. Can you share the best and worst days?
So, thank you, Pam. My best day on chemo was definitely the beginning of the treatments, when a lot of it hasn't built up in the system. Now I'd consider a best day when I manage the symptoms really well, when I've stayed on top of my medicine, when I've had enough rest, when I've napped during the day when the kids are at school. Napping is important to help your body recover. So not to try and get everything done just because the kids are at school. I gave that up
a couple years ago. And the worst day is usually when you haven't stayed on top of your medicine, and nausea is the number one that will get people. That's the number one physical symptom, and then I think the other one is the mental, keeping your head in the game. When I said earlier that I got a little weepy when you were talking with some of the compliments, for some reason the drugs can make you more emotional, which can, if you're not having very positive thoughts, it can really stir that pot. And it's important to take advantage of the social workers that they have on hand. Very important, especially if the thoughts are progressing and they're getting worse. Thankfully that's not been my experience. So, but I'd say that the worst day is if you're falling behind in your symptoms, and if you're falling behind in keeping your mental health well and at par, as well as it can be. I mean, we're in here fighting cancer. We're not having the best mental outlook all the time.
Well, I was going to say, that must be a battle in itself. I mean, the battle against your brain.
Yeah. This is, I would say, when Maggie said that part of her job was 50-50, medicine and psychological, I would say that it's the same for the patient. If not more, the mental game, and keeping your head above water is the number one important thing to do. And it helps you fight better. I can't imagine if I was not in a good mental health, how that would help my body heal. It wouldn't be helping it heal. But those issues sometimes are beyond people's control. So the Cancer Center really has set up a good network, and using the social workers here who deal with people with cancer all the time is extremely important to take advantage of.
I had one friend that I met doing Cancer Center Live, and she said that it's hard to shut that fight off, even when she went into remission. And she was a kind of a quiet person before that, but she said, I felt like such a fighter that I couldn't shut that off.
Yeah,
and it affected, mental health going forward.
I think a lot of hidden angers can come with this disease too, because you didn't ask for it. You can't take it away. You can't fix it. We might not ask for our car to break down either, but we know we can bring it to the shop and get it fixed and be on with it. We can't do that with cancer. It's got a mind of its own, and it treats your body, hopefully not as devastating as it can be for me. But so keeping that mindset's really important. And you said about being a fighter after. I think that one thing that I do a little bit differently is I stopped fighting cancer in my body. When I had this, it sounds silly, when I had the second reoccurrence, twice bitten, but I just kind of thought, okay, if you don't take over, let's just try and do this together. Let's just try and manage you, and you don't have to make yourself known, and I know you're there, and I'm hearing you. So having some good positive thoughts can hopefully help.
Learning to live together.
Yeah, learning to live together.
So I'm out of questions. I've got one here from Rick that I'll share with you. But before we sign off, if anyone has any questions that they want to get, now is the time. And I'm going to leave the last word for you. So if there's anything that you've missed, I know we've been talking for a really long time, but that you might want to share. Rick's question, we talked about, we know your thoughts on it, but the benefits of medical cannabis.
Sure. I think, I know the most about colon cancer. So there's two different parts to the plant itself, the part that everybody's familiar with, the part that makes you high, and then another part called CBD, and that's typically the parts that taken for seizures, Parkinson's, neurological diseases or disorders. And that part, the non-high part, is very effective for my type of cancer. Clinical research has shown that for the adenocarcinoma cell that the cannabis will come in and kill it in a dish. And so that's important for someone like me to take. There's cancer centers around the world that, not in North America yet, but in other parts of the world that are using the plant as part of the therapy because they know what they're doing. Some of the major hospitals in Israel are some of the most prominent cannabis using as part of clinical, and all based on clinical research. So there is elements to the plant, the high part killing cancer cells, the non-high part helping cancer cells like mine. And again, that's where a good physician will come in, because you can read a lot online and a lot of it is false. A lot of it is dangerous. It's a medicine, it's a plant, it needs to be respected and used wisely and in consultation with a doctor that knows about it. Not a lot of doctors do, but there are doctors that do know about it now. So getting in consultation with them is the most important. Anything we've missed? Anything that you wanted to talk about when you thought about doing this program that we haven't hit yet? I think probably
we have covered most of the points. I think you can see the room. It's not sterile. My machine hasn't even beeped today, so it didn't do anything scary. That's all
We're
good.
expecting more interruptions.
The beeps are natural. They happen. Just means that the machine has to be reset. The people, it's a quiet day. When I took my washroom break during the show, some people are out there watching us on Facebook, so send them your hearts and loves right now. That would be really important to them that are watching and doing this. I think that if people can take away that it's not such a scary place and it's not all bald heads and vomiting in here, we've done a big step forward.
Absolutely. There's a question here. I'm not sure
Sure.
if this one is one that you're comfortable with or maybe a clinical question, but are there different chemos for different cancers and different strengths?
Yeah,
Is this
there-
one you want to?
Yeah, there absolutely are, and that's really a basic question. There's something in Ontario called the standard of care, and so when you're diagnosed, there's a drug that matches, and there's drug A because it has the most research, and then drug B because it has the second most research, and drug C. And so you sort of, with whatever cancer you're diagnosed, you start with drug A, and if your body responds well, hopefully that's all you'll ever need. If it's a disease like mine that naturally progresses, we'll naturally build up a tolerance to our drugs, and then need to go to the next one. So for me, I'm on drug B, so to speak, and I've been hanging out here for a long time, and that's a good thing. I don't want to have to progress to drugs C or D. They tend to be stronger. So yeah, every cancer is matched with a different chemo and a different strength, and a lot of it sometimes based on body weight. So again, every time, so when Erica did the pre-check, it was how much do I weigh? She might look at me and say, you're probably the same as last time, but that's not a good answer when you're talking about dosages of a drug. She needs to know exactly what I weigh. So we weighed myself before we went live. And you're not getting that number.
All right, I think we've got to all the questions. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for joining us today.
Thank
We
you.
do have a final comment, and this one I think sums up all the comments that we've been getting over the weekend and throughout the webcast. Michelle, you truly are an amazing and inspirational woman. Thank you for publicly sharing your story and your journey with everyone, sending constant love, thoughts, and prayers from everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks everyone for joining us today. We will go through, and if there are any questions that we did miss, sometimes that happens. Michelle and I will hang out here until she falls asleep or kicks me out and do our best to answer those. Cancer Center Live will be back in June with our final webcast of the season, so I hope you'll stay tuned for details about that, and thank you so much for joining us today. Bye-bye.